Hey guys, so I'm going to answer a question that was put to me on the Instagram. So here we go. I love in the Bay Area of California. I guess he's popular with the women. So I think he meant to say, I live in the Bay Area of California. Do you think it's possible to earn 100K a year freelancing? How about 150K eventually? I'm in a full-time job as a junior developer, converting Flash to HTML5, and keep dreaming about the freedom of working for myself. First thing, can you imagine we're 2020, well, 2019, a couple weeks from 2020, and people are still converting Flash into HTML5. So when people go, oh no, we got to use the cutting edge technologies, because we're going to be out of a job. Flash to HTML5, Flash got killed off like in 2012 or 11. Anyway, so the short answer to your question, can you earn 100K freelancing? I would imagine very much so in the Bay Area. So let me just read my response and then I'll elaborate on this a little bit. So I write to him, I don't live in the Bay Area, but typically rates are determined by local circumstances, rates of compensation as a freelancer. So I would expect that freelancers should be able to earn a relatively good living. The trick is to start researching local rates, start talking to other freelancers in the area. Maybe you can do collabs. If you're design-centric, you can collab with maybe some back-end guys who need some help or vice versa, right? And so he's currently working at a job, so I continue to say, and take on side gigs while still working. Build that stable of clients and your reputation as a freelancer. There you go. So as I teach, when you want to transition into the freelance game, what I would suggest that you do is you keep your current job and you start building up your freelance stable of clients and your freelance chops and skills as you go. And this way, you don't get cut off of your income. And so you're not going to be under as much pressure as a freelancer. And so you can slowly roll out into the freelance game. It's really the best way to go about doing it. So in terms of how much you can earn in the Bay Area, again, as I've stated in other videos, how much you can earn as a freelancer or as a developer working for somebody is largely dependent on where you happen to live. It's partly dependent on that at least. Because if you are in Bangladesh, you can buy a house for a fraction of the cost of buying a house in the Bay Area or Toronto, Canada, or Montreal, Canada, where I happen to be. So of course, if you can buy a house for 1/5 the cost or 1/10 the cost, of course, you would expect that local salaries will be much less. So you got to look into that. So I would imagine that in the Bay Area, given the cost of living, to make 100K as a freelancer would be very, very possible. You could easily do that here in Montreal and much more if you follow proper strategies. As freelancers, you have to remember one big thing. If you are working full-time for a company, they essentially have to double the amount of earnings they are able to accrue or gain having hired you. So if they're paying you whatever, $50,000 a year, they have to in some form or another make $100,000 with your work. It's not a direct line necessarily. You may not be billed directly. You may not be doing client work. Some people do that as developers. But again, they got to make double whatever they're paying you to make it worthwhile to hire you. So if you're able to make $50,000 a year working for somebody, you should be able to easily make 100K working on your own. And the big advantage is you're making double your salary. You got many advantages in terms of your taxable, the tax situation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There you go. So I discovered in the last couple of weeks what a meniscus is. A meniscus is a thing in your knee. And of course, trying to keep in shape, I was doing some running and some sprinting, and I decided to do some twisty runs. And doing the twisty runs, I tore my meniscus. Now I'm limping around like like a gimp, and now I can only kick people with my right leg. I can't kick people with my left leg, and that's about it. Somebody asked me if I was going to do a Ruby joke. I don't have any Ruby jokes at this point in time. So there you go.